Welcome back to another video. Hmm, I'm having some pili nuts and of course our matcha. I have one coworker who brought a lot of Filipino snacks, delicacies and desserts. So she gave us a good amount of it. So I'm eating some of them and I have some more here. It's nice to have some Filipino snacks from time to time. This is really good. Not doesn't even have any branding or anything. Probably made in bulk. This is my last cup of matcha, by the way. I ran out of matcha again, and I'm gonna order after I film this video. So, one of the things I'm slowly learning in my 40s is that forgiveness doesn't always mean letting somebody back into your life completely. Sometimes you forgive someone, you genuinely let go of the anger, you stop thinking about what they did to you stop replaying the situation in your head, but you still don't want the relationship back the way it used to be. And sometimes when people notice that, they think that you're still angry. They think you are still bitter. They think you are holding a grudge. So they're like, but I thought you already forgave me. Yes, I did. I just didn't say that everything has to go back to the way it was, right? I think there's a big difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. For the longest time, I didn't understand that either. I used to think that if I truly forgave somebody, eventually I should be able to treat them exactly the same way again. Like I should be able to talk to them the same way, trust them the same way, tell them everything again, invite them back into my life, and just pretend that nothing happened between the two of us. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that that's not necessarily forgiveness. Sometimes that's just ignoring what happened because you're uncomfortable with the consequences of it. Like if somebody hurt me, like painfully hurt me, disappointed me, lied to me, betrayed my trust, or showed me a side of themselves that I didn't know existed, I think I'm allowed to learn something from that experience. Forgiving them doesn't mean I have to unlearn the lesson, and that's probably the biggest thing I've learned so far. I can forgive you without forgetting what you taught me. And I don't mean keeping a list of everything somebody has ever done to me. That's very petty. I'm not walking around with a little notebook like, okay, on January 17, you did this to me, and on May 20th, you said that to me. No. At some point, you have to let things go. Because honestly, who has the energy to carry all of that, right? Especially now that I'm in my 40s. I don't really want to spend my days being angry at people who probably aren't even thinking about me anymore. I don't want to wake up and give somebody who hurt me 5 years ago another 5 minutes of my day. That's just silly. That's not revenge, also. That's just an exhausting process of forgiving someone. So for me, forgiveness becomes less about what the other person deserves and more about what I want to carry with me. I don't want to carry anger everywhere I go. I don't want to keep replaying conversations in my head. I don't want to keep wondering why somebody treated me a certain way. Sometimes you eventually reach a point where you just say, okay, I understand what happened. I understand who you are now, and I'm going to leave it there. And that's forgiveness for me at this age. Here's the part that people sometimes don't really understand. Just because I forgive you does not mean I trust you again. And just because I can talk to you doesn't mean you're getting the same version of me that you had before. Maybe I'll be polite. Maybe we'll have a conversation. I'll smile and say hello if I see you somewhere. And maybe there won't even be any awkwardness anymore. But I'm probably not going to tell you everything. I'm probably not going to call you when something exciting happens in my life. I'm probably not going to come to you when I'm having a difficult day. I'm not going to automatically give you access to my personal life again. And sometimes people interpret that as like a punishment, but I don't think so. It's not. It's just taking the information. You showed me something and I listened. And I think that's something I've learned, especially as I've gotten older. When you're younger, sometimes you hear what people say more than you pay attention to what they actually do, right? But after you've lived a little bit, you start watching patterns. You start noticing how people behave when they're angry, how they behave when they don't get what they want, how they talk about other people, how they treat you when you're no longer useful to them, how they react when you say no to them, how they behave when you finally set a boundary. And once you've seen certain things, you can't really unsee them. That's not bitterness to me. That's experience. And that's the information that you're sending my way. And I think sometimes people want forgiveness because they want the old relationship back. They want the same access, the same closeness. They want you to forget the uncomfortable part and just go back to laughing, talking, sharing everything, and pretending nothing happened. But that's not always how life works, right? I mean, if you broke my trust, rebuilding it is going to take some time. And sometimes it might never come back completely. Forgiveness doesn't come with an automatic invitation. You don't get forgiven, then receive a little key that says, "Congratulations, you can come back into my life exactly where you left off." No, it doesn't work like that. Like, think about it this way: if somebody accidentally broke something in your home, probably a very expensive chinaware or whatever, and they broke it, right? You might forgive them. But you're probably not going to hand them another expensive thing 5 minutes later and say, "Here, break this one too." That's stupid, right? You can forgive the mistake and still become more careful. And being more careful with someone isn't hatred, okay? It's just knowing yourself well enough to put yourself through the same experience again. Let me just have some matcha before it gets cold and some more pili nuts because it's so good. Mhm. I think this is especially relatable when you're, again, an introvert like me or someone who really values their own space. Because when I let someone into my life, I don't necessarily let them in halfway. I can be very private, but when I trust you, I really trust you 100%. When I consider you a friend, I care about you. I make time for you. I tell you things. I let you see sides of me that I don't show everybody. So when that trust is broken, it's not always easy for me to just go back and act like everything is normal. I can't. I can't pretend like everything is normal. And now that I'm older, I don't feel guilty about that anymore. I'm not going to force myself to be close to somebody just because we used to be close. I'm not going to keep a friendship alive just because we've known each other for about 10, 15, 20 years. I know history matters. I get that. But history isn't the only thing that matters. And I think that's another uncomfortable lesson you learn as you get older. Sometimes you genuinely wish someone well and still know that you don't belong in each other's lives anymore. Ouch, I know, but that's reality. I can hope you're happy. I can hope you succeed, you find love, you have a beautiful life, and I can still keep my distance. I don't have to hate you to stay away from you. I don't have to be angry to say no to you. I don't have to prove that I'm over something by allowing the person who hurt me back into the exact same position. Sometimes being over it actually looks very boring. Yeah, you just don't care anymore. You don't check their social media. You don't ask mutual friends about them. You don't wonder what they're doing. You don't fantasize about them apologizing. You just continue living your life. I think that's the kind of forgiveness I want, not the kind where I have to perform this big reunion and prove to everybody that I have moved on. No, it's not happening. I just want to be able to drink my matcha, sit in my little corner here, read my book, go about my day, and genuinely not feel anything heavy when I think about what happened. That's peace to me. That's my forgiveness. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I've become much more selective about who I allow into my life, who I let in into my life. Like when you're already comfortable being by yourself, you don't have to accept every relationship just because you're afraid of losing it. You can simply say, I loved having you in my life. Like, I sincerely appreciate the time we had, but this doesn't work for me anymore. And you don't have to make it dramatic. You don't have to like announce it. You don't have to write a 5 page explanation about it. Sometimes you just quietly change the level of access, and that's it. So if you've ever forgiven someone and then felt guilty because you didn't want to be as close to them anymore, I just want to remind you of something. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, okay? And it definitely doesn't mean giving somebody the same access they had before. You can forgive somebody and still have boundaries. You can forgive somebody and still not trust them 100%. You can forgive somebody and still choose distance. You can wish them well and never speak to them again. And you can remember what happened without allowing it to control the rest of your life. So for me, that's the real lesson. I'm not interested in carrying any kind of resentment, but I'm also not interested in pretending that certain experiences didn't change me. Some people are lessons, some people are chapters, some people stay for years, and some people eventually become someone you used to know. And that's just how it is. I don't need to make you my enemy. I don't need to hate you. I don't even need you to understand why I don't want the same relationship anymore. I just forgave you. That's it. I just learned from you. And now I'm choosing to move forward differently. And I hope you do the same.